Welcome to University Television Presents. I'm your host, Jamie Bingham. My guest today is in his 4th year as head coach of Boise State women's soccer. In the first season at Boise State, Coach Jim Thomas led our Broncos to a 13-7-3 overall record, winning the most conference games in the program's history. Currently, the team is 5th in the Mountain West standings with 3 matches left to play in the regular season. The top 6 teams will then advance to the conference tournament held the first week in November. I would now like to welcome Coach Jim Thomas. Hello, thank you for joining me today.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Yeah, so I would love it if we could just begin with a little bit about your background, how you became coaching women's soccer and how you came to Boise State.
Yeah, it's actually a little bit of a love story. About 14 years ago, I came out to the United States after completing my degree and to coach soccer, youth kids, little soccer camps around different states in the Midwest. And at that time I met my wife, Allison, who's the mother of my child, Kingsley, as well, who's 5 in January. And it enabled me to embark on a youth coaching career, which led to high school coaching, then community college, and then ultimately to the University of Washington under the head coach there, Leslie Gallimore. And it's a storied Pac-12 program. It was a phenomenal opportunity for me as a young coach, and certainly one where I learned a lot, and we won a lot, which was great. And ultimately, those wins enabled me to apply for the position here. And Boise's a city that I've kind of coveted, or had coveted at the time. We'd visited here a few times for different things, and always loved the community, always loved the kind of living that you could have here. And at the same time the job became available, Kingsley was about 1 year old, and it enabled us to kind of create an environment where we could raise our first child and me still explore my career. And I was kind of lucky. My wife was the head designer for Brass Plum at Nordstrom. She was 9 years into that career, and she was gracious enough to give me the opportunity to explore my dreams, and put hers on hold a little bit. So I'm forever thankful for that. But it's been a phenomenal 4 years, and certainly one that we've all had a great time enjoying.
Nice. So how did you get into coaching soccer specifically? Did you play your whole life?
Yeah, you know, in England it's pretty popular. It's kind of the big thing there. And for me personally, my career ended relatively early for no other reason other than I wasn't good enough to continue on. And I come from a family of educators, so I was actually on the pathway to becoming a PE teacher. I'd completed my degree and had a little hiatus in between my degree and then going on to a postgraduate course of education. And it was at that point that I met Allison. So it was kind of one of those things: do you choose your career or do you follow your heart? And we went with the heart.
Great. So you've been here for 4 years now. What have you been specifically doing to improve the soccer program here at Boise State?
Well, I think anytime you take over a program, there's a previous staff that had a previous philosophy and went about winning, losing, and progressing a program in their own way. And certainly, I think at the start there was a matter of dealing with what we had, and that went very well, as you mentioned earlier. And after that first season, we graduated, I believe, 7 seniors, and we were really left with a program that needed rebuilding at that point. And a big part of what we were trying to rebuild was the culture that surrounded the program, not just the wins. And, you know, they can come and go at times, and certainly as teams get older and younger, injuries, this, that, and the other, wins can be elusive. But one thing that can stand the test of time is the culture of the group. And we've done a great amount of work in different areas of working within the community, working within their academics, to ensure that we're representing Boise State University in a more holistic manner. And to see our team GPA jump from a 2.8 when we took over to a 3.5, last semester was a 3.7 as a team. Yeah. Those are things that we're really, really proud of. We're setting new records for the amount of time we're working with our community. And anybody that's been to Boise State and the city of Boise knows it's defined by its relationship between those two entities. So we really try to reach out and be a part of our community as a whole. And it's those things that I think are enabling certain players within our program to really excel. And it's attracting other players to our program as well that want to be a part of something like this.
So do you think that you took strategies from coaching at Washington and bringing it here to Boise State?
Yeah, I mean, Leslie has been a part of the women's soccer game in the United States since really its birth. She's a 4-time All-American, inducted into the Cal Hall of Fame at a time where there really weren't that many opportunities for female soccer players. Since then, we have world championships, professional leagues, opportunities overseas for female athletes, which is fantastic. But Leslie's really been through the test of time and the kind of growth of the sport in our country. So she's a big believer in these kind of pillars that uphold the foundation of a program, and seeing that success over a 20-plus year career is something that I aspire to have as well, and one that I think you would be blind to not learn those lessons. So it's definitely different here, and I think each culture is individual to itself. The people that we have here, what they're aspiring to do is amazing in its own right. So to try and take the pillars or foundations of a different city and a different school and apply it to ours, I think would be an error. And I think it's taken us a good couple of years to really wrap our arms around what that is. You know, what is a Bronco? What does it mean to be a part of this program in school? And then how do we underpin that with foundations that can stand the test of time and are not just short-term things to get you through another full season. So it's been a process that we've really worked towards, tried to listen to our players, tried to understand a generation that we're 2 generations removed from, and really make it about them and applicable to what they're trying to be and achieve. So it's been a process, but a fun one, but certainly lessons learned from that time over there at Montlake.
So you're enjoying it here in Boise. You like it better in Washington, is that what you're saying?
Well, you know, I think there's pluses and minuses about it. I certainly love what we have here better than what we had in Seattle. You know, there'll be things, and to me, for those people that know me, it's all about the people. You know, I could be in Antarctica or I could be back home in England, and it'll be more about the people that I'm surrounded by. And Seattle offers me some people that are more like family and have really propped me up through my career and growth as a young person. You miss those guys. You can't replicate that. But as for a city, you know, the things that I'm afforded the opportunity to do by Boise State Athletics and the university as a whole, but also this city that I think it's really hard to kind of wrap your arms around what Boise truly is until you come here and just go to the bank. And all of a sudden it takes you 10 more minutes to deposit your cash because the teller really wants to know genuinely how you are and what's going on in your world. And for some reason, whether you're a talkative person or open or not, you really end up wanting to share back with them how your day's going and find out about theirs. And that kind of comfort level where, you know, we're young parents for the first time, absolutely lost, don't know what we're doing, trying to figure it all out, you know, to be surrounded by a community that can look after you, help guide you, give you a good example, set good role models for our youngster. I think that's really rare. So, yeah, we couldn't be more happy.
Awesome. Well, let's just dive a little bit into this season. So far, it's been a little bit of a roller coaster, wins, losses, ties. So how have you been able to keep the momentum moving forward so that you can clinch a spot in the conference tournament?
Little bit of a roller coaster being the biggest roller coaster ever really invented. Anytime you start 1-7 and you're within one goal of a tie or a victory of all of those games, it's not only difficult to get the losses, it's really difficult to be that close and still not get a result. And I think that offers an unbelievable weight on young athletes who are carrying tremendous class loads, physically really pushing themselves to the limit. And then you add this emotional baggage that comes with those losses. I think it's tough. And it's one of the things that I'm probably most proud of, to see our team go 4-2-2 in the second half of the season. We were second place for a long time. We were still within striking distance of winning the whole championship. So to be able to turn the corner like that as we have in the second half of the season, I think it's a testament to the coaching staff, but more so a testament to the players who've stayed together long enough, really drawn on the chemistry that they've spent multiple seasons developing, fighting for and creating. But I think it goes back to these foundations that we've talked about before, where we have pillars that define the actions of a Bronco, that we hang our hat on every single day, whether a training session was good, a meeting was good, a season is going well. It's based out on our performance of these pillars. And I think when things are difficult, it's easy to look to something like that stands strong in bad weather and say, we're going to hold on to this right now, and we're going to keep pushing towards this thing, and it's going to drag us out of it. And ultimately, that is what happened. We have players that are driven towards a legacy for this school. They love this school so dearly that they want to leave it in a better place than how they found it. They're willing to take the critiques of others, us, outsiders, and put in the hard work in order to get there. And that's really, really important when things are bad. And I think it's probably the most stark thing that I see in this group different to other coaching groups that or coaching environments that I've been in and groups that I've been a part of at other places and here. That's meant that we've gone 1-7-1 to 4-2-2. And, you know, for our program, 6 wins in conference play is the most that they've ever had. We can get that this weekend. 7 would be an all-time record. We can do that on senior day. So we have legacy that's just sitting out there waiting for us to get. But I think it's the chemistry and their ability to really commit to these foundations that we've laid out from our pillars.
I mean, you mentioned your players. Freshman forward Ramey Shirley is leading the team in scoring and is also one of the top scorers in the conference right now with 6 goals. So how has she been able to put the pressure on the opponents and help with the overall success of this team?
She's a special talent, for one. I mean, her pace and her ability to drift by people with the ball is unlike any player I've really seen. And when you pair that with a kid that her recruiting process to getting here was a unique one. She was initially going to another school, found out that really wasn't the direction that she wanted to go, and had seen what we had been doing later on in the recruiting process for her, really wanted to become a part of that. And in that same time, she was the exact thing that we needed. It was the perfect colliding of paths that ever since we've been in this difficult start to the season, she's been as equally bought in as any of our seniors are. And that's difficult for a freshman. You've only been on campus 2 or 3 months, and to have that attachment to a cause takes time. And I think you see that in the way that at the end of games, she draws upon this unbelievable heart and passion for the game and her team that really differentiates her from other players that are out there. She's got a ton of growth. We're looking forward to progressing her further and further in her career. But when you put that kind of character and passion together with that kind of innate ability to drift past and through defenses, it's a really, really unique talent. And she's a fun kid. I can't wait for Bronco Nation to get to know her. She's incredibly funny. She's willing to do the goofy stuff to keep things fun throughout the week, and she's willing to do the gritty stuff in order to win games. So she'll have a big role in our successes, hopefully this weekend also. So she's a cool kid, though. We'll enjoy her for the next 4 years.
And just talking about other players, who are some other key dominant players on this team that are kind of in leadership roles or maybe are scoring more?
Yeah, I think we have. I mean, the cool thing about the way that this program has developed over the course of the last 9 to 12 months is that the leadership component to it is very broad. It's not really one person that's a captain and everybody's got to follow her like you see in the movies or something like that. We have people that are really special in multiple different areas, and they're captains or leaders of that area, of their expertise and their comfort. And when you bring that all together in a leadership group, you have a leadership mantra that can cover a lot more areas. And Janelle and Sarah would be 2 players that would join a player such as Haley DeVries that really kind of 3 at the peak of that kind of group. Haley's been a massive part of our program for 4 years. She's one of our 2 seniors. She's an incredibly talented player that's played in the top 10 for minutes for our entire program's history. She's a tremendous player and backs that up with a style that we can lean on in difficult times. She's a very caring person who looks out for others, and it's important to have that component. Where you have Sarah, who's also caring, but she's a high-level competitor. She's very tough on herself. She demands greatness of others, and she helps them get there. She's willing to pull others with her. She's a player that's in line for the World Cup for the Canadian national team at the U20 level. That's just in a couple of weeks. My phone could literally be ringing right now. It's that close to us finding out. And she's the kind of player that in the intangible moments that aren't tactic or technique, but they are competition, she can carry you through. Looking back to the University of New Mexico game that went double overtime on the road at altitude, it's a team that we've only ever gotten 1 win against in the entire history of the program. And you need players like Sarah that are going to roll up their sleeves and do whatever it takes in order to get us through. And she does that day in, day out at training, which really creates a competitive environment for us every day. I'd say the person that probably spans those two, the continuum between the two. We've got a number of them, but the one that stands out the most is Janelle Flores, who's our goalkeeper, junior goalkeeper. She's broken records for saves in a game. She leads the league in shutouts this season and really is probably the talisman of our defense, which is the best in the conference this year, only giving up 6 goals. And she's one that will sit down and play a guitar jam session with you at the same time as demand you to do better in your homework. And when we're out in the community, giving back to our boosters or our community, she's the first in line to say, I want to meet these people firsthand and thank them firsthand for what they give us. So she kind of brings this whole thing together. And like I said, there are a number of people. I could sit for the rest of the show talking about the character of our players. I'm very proud of the group that we have. And it's been a long road to get a group like this. But I would say that those 3 really span the continuum of our leadership group. And they're doing a tremendous job of bringing other people into that group. So when they graduate, this history that we're creating now will continue on.
So you mentioned Sarah Taylor trying out for this Canadian team. If she makes this team, what would that mean for her? Would she go there and play?
Yeah, it means the world, literally, the World Cup. I mean, for me, as a young person, even now in the coaching realms, if there was an opportunity for me to represent my country in any way, to don the flag, sing the national anthem, and then go out and represent the country in which I was raised, I think that takes precedence over everything. This is a unique, once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for Sarah to represent her country, to project her career professionally after soccer, and what an amazing advertisement for Boise State soccer and Boise State. I think to be too prideful or egotistical and prevent her from doing it, because we're worse without her. She's one of our best players, and we would potentially not have her throughout the conference tournament and potentially the first round of the NC2A tournament. To lose one of your captains, leaders, and best players, some people find that difficult. For me, it's not difficult at all. I was brought in to try and progress this program and do the best I can for the players that are in it. And to deny Sarah this kind of opportunity would be ludicrous to me. So I'm super excited for her. I might have to buy myself a Maple Leaf t-shirt or something and yell a lot at the screen, but it's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity at the peak level of what she's dedicated her whole life to. I'm just thankful to have been a part of her getting this close, and she's literally down to the selection of 21 players out of 23. Wow. So we have everything crossed at this point.
Awesome. Well, you mentioned that you guys are going to be playing this weekend. You're playing UNLV and Nevada. So what has been your strategy during practice and preparation for these games specifically? I don't want you to go into too much detail and let them know what your strategy is, but just give us a little insight into your practice.
Sure. Well, I think that's kind of the tale of our season. So we have this difficult part to the season where we're defined by the close losses that we have, but we're also a team that's been marred with injury for a long portion of the season. And I think we had enough on a lot of the games that we played previously to win them anyway. We have a talented overall squad, but we've never really been able to put out our starting 11, utilize our top 14, 15 players at the same time due to these injuries. Or, for example, Sarah went away for a training camp for the Canadian national team for 4 games in the middle of this season already. So when you take that player out, the next player comes in, your depth changes, even if the quality in the starting 11 doesn't. So we haven't really had all of our tools to tinker around with. Up until about 2 weeks ago, when the injury bug started to fade away and we needed to start rehabilitating our players into full match fitness. That's a process unto itself because they've only got 10 or 15 minutes in their legs, and then you have to kind of build that up. Going into this weekend, and really at the tail end of last week, going into the San Diego State and New Mexico weekend, we had them all at least available for selection. And that meant that instead of changing formations or tactics to adapt what we had against an opponent, we can really match up and say, this is our best suit. Let's focus on us and do the best version of us against you. We have enough talent here. We have everybody available. This is what we thought could win. Let's go and see if it can win. And certainly, I think last weekend, those players weren't fully back. We could only have them for very short periods of time. This week, they're all fully back. They'll be able to play extended minutes within the game. So I think our focus in training has been a lot more to really smoothing out them being a part of the starting lineup, getting everybody comfortable again with their choices in the way that they play, and making it gel a little bit more like you would at the start of the season, but now at the latter end. And certainly when you have a team that scored the most goals in the conference, like UNLV, I believe they have 18 on the year, and they're going to play against a team that's given up the least goals, which is us with 6, you have a styles make matches kind of situation where our defense versus their attack is going to be a key piece. And we've had to put in some wrinkles there that are going to make sure that happens and that we get a little bit of that attack ourselves. So it's been nice to really turn things back on us and not overly focus on our opponents and need to neutralize them as much because we're really able to emphasize some of our own strengths. So that's really been our approach into this one. And I think moving forward, hopefully we'll advance to the conference tournament. I think that really becomes about you being the best version of yourself. So we're trying to get ahead of that preparation as we move into the final 2 weeks.
So just for these couple more weeks, your last home game, which you mentioned, is senior night, is that correct? On October 28th. So what are your performance goals and mental goals, preparing for those games?
Sure, I think senior day is a crazy day. You have other sports where players are clearly going to go on to play in Europe. They'll play at the professional level, stateside. For women's soccer, over 99% of the people that play at the collegiate level don't go on to professional careers. They're like the NC2A commercial. They go on to be professionals elsewhere. And it's the culmination of approximately 20-year, 18 to 20-year career. A lot of these girls are starting at the age of 4. They're graduating around 22. Some of them later than that if they take hiatuses in between. And it's the last game that they could potentially ever play. And when you allow that emotion to really sink in, it's difficult to actually then go out and play well. And that game's going to be a pivotal one for us one way or the other. So our team will need to rally around those seniors. And so I think you're really doing 2 things at that period. If you're guaranteed to be in the conference tournament, they're a little easier because you know you've got more games to come. If you don't, and that potentially is the last game for your seniors' careers, you have to try and gauge what they need from you in order to stay balanced for about 3 hours. They can be crazy beforehand, emotional afterwards, whatever it is, but they've got to find a sweet spot for about 3 hours to really do justice what they've put in for the first half or quarter of their life. And I think you're also fighting another battle there, knowing that you can't really do that on your own as a coach. You need their friends and their teammates to set the correct tone, carry them at the right times, give them enough airspace at times to go through that emotional roller coaster, but also to be willing to snap them out of it quick enough when they're just doing themselves a disservice. So you're sort of managing the juniors and down one way, managing the seniors another, to try and find a little purple patch of 3 hours in the middle of a Sunday afternoon. And we know Utah State very, very well. We really don't look beyond the game ahead of us, to be frank. But being our travel partner, we get to see them play every single weekend. So we know them well. And it'll be an emotional game for them for similar reasons, even though it's on the road. So I think both coaches and teams will be fighting that same battle. But for me, the preparation at that point turns a little bit more to the emotional management and to some degree a little bit of recognition. It's a big deal what they're doing, graduating a Division I collegiate program, so we want to acknowledge that. We do some internal fun things to make sure that it's not just a normal week for them, but at the same time it remains as normal as possible.
Well, we just have a couple more minutes. I just wanted to ask if there was anything else you wanted to add or talk about.
Yeah, you know what, we've got a kind of big thing going on. We've talked about the pillars of our program and the importance of the progression away from just the soccer field, but in the classroom, in the community. And that's born out of my belief as their head coach here, that we are not just trying to win soccer games. We're trying to produce positive, contributing members of the community that go out and make this place better. How do we go about doing that? It's a huge spectrum of things that we're doing. And we've been working in soup kitchens, abuse shelters, local schools. We work with a school in Texas as well to help young people understand the role models that are out there, specifically for young women. We've reached out into a myriad of different booster and Boise State relationships already to continue to foster them and build them with regards to our program. And what that's done is really expanded the view of our players of America. Being a European, I have more grandiose ideas than that. I want them to learn from other cultures, specifically European cultures this time around. So we head to Spain in May, and we're going to go there for 10 days to Barcelona initially and San Sebastian. We will play 3 soccer games while we're there, but it's really about trying to adopt the culture for 11 days of a foreign country and bring back to America some of the things that we feel can benefit us in our local community, to learn about their struggles, their pluses, the differences that they do in education and in the workplace, those kind of things, and see if we can't progress some of these young people with a broader spectrum. So we have a fundraising program going on that at the moment. You can go to ponyup.boisestate.edu to help become a part of that. And as we've been a part of this community now for so long, we've actually opened it up where you can come on the trip with us. So as expansive as it is, any member of the Boise State community can come on this trip with us and see this kind of personal development, the community development, cultural development of our young people that we're trying to help them with as well. And the cool part about it is we don't know which way it's going to go. You know, I think one of the fun things you do with this is you present the opportunity for the young people that you work with, and then you allow them to explore it in their own way. So we'll have a lot of different opportunities for the very varied group that we have. We have a very diverse group to try and explore community and culture in their own way and bring back their own lessons. And hopefully there'll be some form of crossing over there where we can all learn from the other lessons that each of us have gained. So that's kind of the direction that we're going. That's the big thing on the horizon. So check out the Pony Up website and see if you want to come to Spain with the Boise State soccer team.
Well, that sounds fun.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll look at that.
There you go. It'd be great.
Well, I just want to say thanks again for joining me, Coach Jim Thomas. I'm Jamie Bingham, and from everyone here at University Television, thank you for watching.